Was there any indication of this? Was there any indication of any tension between the government there and the military forces?
Well, there's a very long-standing history of tension between Turkey's elected governments and the army here. I think the army has traditionally seen itself as a kind of secular bastion of the Turkish state that tried to sort of rein in the excesses, so it's perceived them, of the democratically elected governments of the day. And this government, the AKP government, which used to have President Erdogan at its head before he moved to become the president 2 years ago, it came to power and tried very hard to trim the influence of the army, and it seemed for a long time that they'd been very successful in doing that. The army, certainly, its role in public life had vastly diminished over the last few years. I think many people didn't think they had the capacity to do this anymore, so it's come as a huge shock.
Isobel, you mentioned there briefly about a history of these things happening in Turkey. Can you, if you would, in just a couple of seconds, give us a brief update, a brief historical perspective on why this seems to continue to happen in Turkey?
Well, it's a very good question. At the moment, there seems to be a kind of information war with, each side spitting messages over the airwaves at the other. So it's hard to come to a concrete understanding of what's going on right now and what exactly this fits into. But certainly, there's been a long history of tension. More recently, it's taken the shape that the Erdogan government. When he was formerly the head of it, that Erdogan's government was perceived by a number of citizens as taking a more authoritarian turn. Of course, they've won a series of elections, 3 nationwide elections very recently, so they certainly have the support of a lot of the people, but there's a section of society that feels that their rights are being ignored. And those tensions have certainly been a big feature of Turkish politics in the last few years.
Bloomberg.
It's hard to say whether this fits into that or otherwise, but thank you.
Yes, Bloomberg's Isobel Finkel joining us from central Istanbul in Turkey. Isobel, thank you again. There seems to have been, as Isobel was very careful to point out, some people are taking great pains not to call this a coup, but there has been some sort of military action in Turkey. We are seeing reports of very, very heavy gunfire heard outside Turkey's presidential palace.